This video is brought to you by Shapiro Library, which is part of Southern New Hampshire University. This video is going to discuss domains and how they affect and can be used to determine reliability in your source evaluation when you begin researching online. This can also be used for personal use when you're evaluating websites in your everyday life. I'm going to type in IANA domain extensions into Google so we can learn more about domain names and domain roots. We're all familiar with .com, .org, .edu, and .gov. There are many, many others, as this list will show. First one I'm going to look at in the list is .com. We'll scroll down to .com and see that it reads it's generic, and the authority is VeriSign Global Registry Services. Now that generic is the part that I want to concentrate on here. What that means is basically anybody can have a .com. Therefore, when we are on a website that ends in .com, we want to be very careful about evaluating that source. We want to do a very, very in-depth evaluation of that source. .org is another one. Now, many people think, and as it was started, it was an organization, so we think that it should be an organization that has a .org. But we see the .org also is generic, and the sponsoring organization is a public interest registry. Now, anybody can have a .org, therefore we're going to treat it similarly as we do the .com. Now, when we talk about .gov and .edu, let me scroll up to .gov and see what that says here. Sponsored, and it's sponsored General Services Administration, .gov domain registration. So I can tell you from this that the .gov is regulated, and there is a process by which you have to be approved and confirm that you are a government organization before you can purchase the .gov. Now let's look up .edu. .edu is different than .education. .edu is sponsored, and it's sponsored by EDUCAUSE. Now, what you have to be careful with the .edu is, yes, it's sponsored, and yes, an organization will go through a process to determine if it's an educational institution or not. However, many educational institutions allow their students and faculty and staff members to have pages within that .edu. So you want to make sure if you find a research paper on a .edu that it's not a college freshman, because that's not on the same level as research in a peer-reviewed journal, or that's research done by a professor. So the level of how we trust that varies depending on who the author is. So .edu, definitely an educational institution, but who actually authored the page can be questionable. As a recap, domains and reliability. There are lots out there. The .com, the .org, .edu, and .gov are the ones we talked about. The ones with more regulation can be considered more trusted, and that is the .gov, the .edu, with that exception of be careful who the author is. The ones with little or no regulation, like the .com or the .org, you want to do a more in-depth evaluation, including mission statements about us, and understanding more about what and why that website exists and why they're putting out that information.